On today's show, smart TVs in our homes are watching and tracking us. Which big tech companies are collecting data and what are they doing with it? I'm going to give you the facts and the 5 things you need to know. And 3D printing technology is exploding from space exploration to medical procedures. Now it's helping the homeless. This is really something you have to see. Plus, I talk with Andrew Main, also known as Ghost Diver. No, he's not a superhero, but he's used superpowers to create an amazing diving suit that allows him to be invisible to great white sharks. Finally, you don't have to be a private eye to know if your significant other is cheating on you. My digital life hack will tell you how to find the telltale tech signs that someone's two-timing. All this plus more digital know-how and, of course, your phone calls here on Komando. Let's start with a revelation that should come as a surprise to absolutely no one. Your smart TVs and streaming devices collect loads of data about you and share it all with third parties. That's according to researchers from Northeastern University and the Imperial College of London, who tested some 80 devices to get an overall idea of just how much data they collect and distribute. They found sensitive information like location data and IP addresses are being shared even when you're not using those devices. And that data, it's not just being shared with advertisers. A lot of your sensitive info is apparently being leaked to the usual suspects in big tech, Google, Facebook, and Microsoft, to name a few. The researchers say the biggest culprits harvesting your data are smart TVs made by LG and Samsung, along with Roku and Amazon Fire TV streaming devices. Oh, and get this. Just about every TV these researchers tested was sending data to Netflix, even if you don't have a Netflix account. Why? To make money from targeted advertising, silly. Go ahead, ask Alexa. How do I know if my smart tech is spying on me? I bet she lies. And speaking of devices spying, remember last year, Facebook released smart displays called Portal. That's right, Facebook, right there on a table in your living room, so you can make video calls to your friends with a creepy motion tracking camera always watching and a long-range microphone that's always listening. Facebook unveiled a new line of portals, but one in particular, the Portal TV, got my attention. It has no screen because it converts your TV into a giant smart display that can make video calls through Messenger or WhatsApp. Sure, you can physically cover the camera lens and disable the microphone, but your only real guarantee of privacy is to keep it out of your house in the first place. But wait, there's more. Facebook is also working on smart glasses. They've partnered with Ray-Ban and the Oakley parent company, Luxottica. These aren't just AR glasses. Facebook's plan is to replace smartphones. Sources say the glasses can take calls, show info on a small display, and live stream to social media through a camera built into the frames. So forget the living room. Now Facebook really will be everywhere you go and see everything you see. What a comforting thought. They hope to start selling their AR glasses in a few years. Now, Facebook literally wants to help you see more clearly just how little privacy you have left. No thanks. And take a step back and look at the amount of technology that's out there, at home, at work, what we take with us everywhere. Now, combine that with the daily grind, and you've got one of the big reasons millennials say life is more stressful, even more so than previous generations. Now, this is according to a survey conducted by acupuncture supply company Laza OMS. Since burnout is now recognized as a legitimate diagnosis by the World Health Organization, they surveyed 2,000 millennials to figure out how stressed out they are and why. Topping the list, you've got a lot of the usual stressors: debt, the job market, the cost of healthcare. Same story, different decade. But you've also got 56% who say life is more stressful because of technology and media overload. And 55% say social pressure online is horrible. Posting all those pictures and stories, doing every fabulous thing you can think of, and trying to collect likes. Speaking of, how much do millennials weigh? An Instagram. Ba-dum-bum. All right, another major retailer is looking at the possibility of making deliveries with drones. Next month in Christiansburg, Virginia, Walgreens will be testing on-demand drone delivery with the help of both FedEx and Wing, the drone delivery service owned by Google's parent company, Alphabet. Residents who live in the testing area can choose to order from more than 100 different products, from over-the-counter meds to snacks, with deliveries that are supposed to arrive in minutes. As far as prescriptions go, they're not allowed to be delivered by drone, at least not yet. Again, it's a pilot program, and Walgreens hasn't said when drone delivery might go nationwide. And if you've been wondering this whole time why Christiansburg, Virginia, well, here's your answer. For the past few years, Wing has been closely partnered with Virginia Tech's Mid-Atlantic Aviation Partnership in nearby Blacksburg. That's why the U.S. Department of Transportation selected that area as one of the few drone delivery test sites back in 2016. Now, you might remember that back in June, Amazon got FAA approval for Prime delivery, which is supposed to roll out within months. So much for next-day delivery. Finally, let's say you're about ready to make the leap into the world of electric cars. What are the first considerations that come to mind? Of course, there's the obvious. You'll be trading a standard combustion engine for battery power. Then you also have to know where charging stations are located, and the list goes on. Electric cars don't make a lot of noise, so think about that from a safety standpoint, like pedestrians not being able to hear you coming down the road. That's why the government mandated that these cars make at least some sound so people can hear you approaching. Now the National Highway Traffic Administration even wants you to be able to choose from different sounds. And that brings me to Porsche. They don't want your car just to make noise. They want to make a sound like the roaring engine you had before. And they're going to sell you that sound. Yep, one of the add-on options for the Porsche Taycan is an MP3 of engine noises. For about $600, you can cruise around in your electric Porsche that'll sound like a total V8. I mean, we can choose ringtones for our phones, so I guess it's only logical we would one day be able to choose ringtones for our cars, too. And I heard that Dyson will release an electric car in a few years, but the rumor is it's gonna suck. DNA forensics has helped solve crimes for years, but wait until you hear how one company is introducing the science to your pets by collecting their number twos. I'll explain it all next on Komando. Ever need a quick answer to your tech questions? Well, post your questions for me and other pros at the Komando community. Check it out right now at komando.com/community, and I'll see you there. Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. Hi there, Michael.
All right, all right, all right. It is so good to talk with you, Kim. How are you?
I'm fabulous. What's going on?
Well, I have, this is my first time calling in. I have enjoyed your show for many, 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 many years, and you are just a very lovely person.
Oh.
Thank you for your expertise.
Thank you.
My question is, I'm going to be celebrating a birthday in about 6 weeks or so. And I have asked a buddy of mine, because I drive for Lyft part-time, and I have asked him to get me a dash cam. Okay. I know nothing about dash cams. Nada, zero, zilch.
Well, you need one. You need one as a Lyft driver. You do.
Yes, I do. So I wanted to get your expertise on which is the most reasonably priced and the best quality video I can get, both inside the car and outside the car.
You know, and that's really important, because I'm so glad you said that, because, you know, as an Uber driver, people act differently if they're being recorded. They do. I mean, they just do. And so I want to make sure that you get a dash cam that's dual. It's a dual lens dash cam. Okay, so it does inside and outside the car. 1080p. You want a nice big viewing angle, maybe 150 degrees. It should record to an SD card. Now, some of these now will actually send the video off into the cloud when it's near Wi-Fi, and you have already set that up in the app. That may not be necessary for you. If you have a 32 gig card, I mean, that's, you know, it's going to just keep recording over and over, so that this way, if something does happen, you know that you have it stored on the card. Also, I want the dash cam to have something called the G sensor, so that if it notes a hard stop or something that's happening, is that that will automatically time and date stamp that, as well as just save that in a different place, knowing that that's an important, critical video that you have. And you want audio too, right? Not just video. So when you start putting all those requirements onto a dash cam, you're not looking at a $50 dash cam. You can certainly get a dash cam app, by the way. They're about $15, $10 to $15 for your phone, but that's not the same thing, okay? It doesn't have all the capabilities. So I like a couple of brands. One's called Nexar, another one's called Blackview. Thank you for your kind words, and drive safely. It just drives me crazy when I see someone walking their dog and the dog squats down, does his business, and then the dog's owner just keeps on walking, leaving a mess there like nothing ever happened. Or how about when you're out and about and you step on dog poop? I know what you're thinking. What the heck does this have to do with technology? It sure does. There's a company that uses DNA to track down the offending party. And joining me on the show today is Chesley Winfrey. She's the senior scientist at Prints, a company dedicated to making sure dog owners, well, they do the right thing. Hey, Chesley, thank you so much for being here. Now, we all know about DNA kits for human beings, but how did Prints come about?
Prints came about as BioPet has always been an animal genetics company, and we were researching new products to try to launch. We came across some research out of Europe they were attempting to pull DNA off of feces, and at the same time, our senior scientist at that time lived in an apartment complex. She noticed a serious problem where she was, so we paired the two ideas. The goals with Prints was to increase pet access and to mitigate the #1 problem that was coming out of research, market research everywhere, increase the responsible pet ownership, and then to mitigate the impact of dog waste on the environment.
So let's talk about how Prints works. Okay, so Prints, you go out and you're going to get the DNA from all the dog owners in a community, right?
Yes,
so the owners have to obviously agree to this. And so is your first call to like a homeowners association saying, do you have a dog poop problem?
It's very similar to that. So when this launched approximately 10 years ago, it coincided with an industry boom in multifamily housing. So that meant more families moving into smaller areas, and they were bringing their pets with them. It took us years of broaching this subject of, we can pull DNA from poop. We can solve your, the #1 problem that you have in your community with your pets.
Your #1 problem is actually your #2 problem, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay. All right. So you go to the homeowners association, and obviously you get all the owners involved, right? The dog owners involved. Okay. And who pays for this? Does the HOA pay for it?
Yep. So in our biggest customer base is the apartment complexes and also condos with HOAs. Usually they pass that on into the pet fee for the initial registration.
So with the HOA, so the HOA police is out there, right? Okay.
Yes.
They spot poop. Now they scoop it up, they put it in a bag, and they send it off to you guys?
That's correct. We have collection bottles for them that have a liquid stabilizer so that they don't have to send it overnight or on ice. So that was a huge part of the R&D there with the logistics of shipping it. But that's correct. They find it, they put it in our collection device, and they ship it to us.
And then how long does it take for you to say who the perpetrator is?
We have a 2-week turnaround. So we can typically sometimes get it done before that, but we make sure to return that result within 2 weeks.
Okay, so what if a pet owner comes back to you and they say, you know what? I know my dog. We weren't even in that area during that time. My friend, we were out of the country. Okay. So how accurate is the DNA?
So we report, just like the FBI reports for their stringency of matches, we report the random match probability within the population. And what we do offer, if they ever come back and they want to dispute it, we will offer a DNA verification test that just will kind of prove and make sure that we have the correct DNA on file for their dog in the known dog database.
Which is actually, which is actually all pretty amazing. So how many properties are now using Prints?
We are in all 50 states. We have properties in the UK, around London, and so our distribution is, going worldwide with this.
So Prints is now 4,000 properties, right? In 5 different countries. You have 300,000 dogs in your database.
Yes.
What's next?
We plan to, to try to offer some more benefits to the pet owner. We want them to understand that this is really not as a big brother or police. We are a dog loving company. And so what we've been able to do with the dog registrations in addition to the poo prints is to use those as kind of a canine CODIS. Also, we believe that it may be very possible that dog DNA is used as a form of identification that goes hand in hand with the microchipping in the near future. We've been able to do forensic cases and lost and found and reunite stolen dogs with dog owners just based on their profile being on file with us in our database.
Well, I'll tell you, it's very cool because, until I ran across your company, I never thought that there would be a solution for the number 2 problem that we all face in these communities. It's like, it just drives me crazy, right? When you see somebody walking their dog, the dog squats down, and then they just keep on walking like, hey, no big deal. It's like, okay, that's why you carry a poop bag on your leash. Okay. Hey, Chesley, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Really amazing stuff that you all are doing. And you see, this technology is pretty, are you ready for it? Doggone innovative. And you see, folks, this is just a reminder of how tech is constantly innovating. And that's why you need to get our free Komando app. Stay up to date on everything digital. Get the latest in tech, scams, security alerts, and so much more. It's free for Android at the Google Play Store or at the App Store for iOS. Just search for my last name, Komando. All right, brand new or not true came about because so many tech products, when you look at them, you think, how could that be true? How could they ever put their money into that? And then it turns out, well, they did put their money into it, like $20, $30 million. And so brand new or not true is you can play along at home. And there are 3 products. One's real and 2 are fake. And joining us once again is the chairman of the board. I feel like when I say that, Barry, that we need to have like Frank Sinatra music.
We should. Yeah, we should. Every week's been off, but I feel that this is the week, and I don't know, Mike, what do you think? This feels like there's a little electricity in the
I'll give you a good 30-40% chance.
There you go. Are we betting for anything? Because I'm getting really tired of like all the foot massages and the back rubs.
Why don't they never come through anyway, so why don't you set the bet? What's the bet?
The bet is that you have to make dinner.
You know what? As long as it doesn't involve the washing machine, I'm okay. Because I don't know how it works.
I know. That's so sad. It really is. I had to teach you how to wash your own underwear. That was awful.
Don't know how it works.
Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, product number 1. Are you tired of leaving dear Abby at home alone? Abby is our golden retriever. And she gets lonely, doesn't she?
She gets lonely.
Well, now you can get her the world's first personal robot designed for dogs, the Dogbot. The Dogbot stands 9.5 inches tall, has 4 wheels with treads, lets you use an app to follow your dog all around the house. And then using the app, you can see and interact with Abby remotely, moves on carpet, hardwood floors. You get 360-degree mobility, a 1080p camera, 120-degree viewing angle.
Wow.
Okay. You can take snapshots or videos, 1 gig storage in the cloud for free, cost shipped to that. You can put a sensor on Abby's collar that will automatically follow her around the house or go find her as long as the area isn't over 700 feet. That's it. There's audio too, so you can say, Abby girl, and then she'll run to the Dogbot, just ready to jump on it and knock it over because she's such a well-trained dog.
She knocks it over. How does he get back up?
It just rolls over, and it's got like these things that
roll
goes
over
back.
and get back up.
Okay. Not recommended for cats, though, because they'll just ignore it. Okay, you ready for number 2?
Okay, go.
You love watches. Okay, Rolex is coming out with its very own smartwatch. That, unlike the Apple Square Watch, the Rolex smartwatch is circular and big, 42 millimeters.
Right.
It's designed really for the millennial watch-loving crowd. They can't afford $10,000 on a Rolex, but they want the look and feel of a Rolex. The smartwatch's face is said to be a Yachtmaster or Submariner on display, along with you have the date and sweeping second hand. It's all digital. It'll also track your steps and your heart rate, as well as let you get text message and put on your favorite apps.
So it's not real. It shows you a picture
of the
watch.
Rolex, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's getting some bad press because it only works with Android, not Apple.
I see.
Rolex says they're better than Apple. And while the Apple Watch will set you back $499, the Rolex smartwatch starts at $899, and additional watch faces are available.
Right.
not really watch face, it's digital face, for $29.99.
Okay, all right, okay. That's not real, but keep on.
How do you know this?
I'll tell you why in a minute.
Okay. Number 3. There are different kinds of diets out there. You have Nutrisystems, paleo, the keto diet. Dr. Randy, our neighbor, was on the keto diet. He lost 40 pounds. He looks fabulous. Now, the keto diet is a very low-carb, high-fat diet. It involves drastically reducing your carbohydrates, replacing it with fat. And then this reduction in carbs puts your body into a state called ketosis. That's why they got the keto diet from.
Right.
So you can eat cheese, you can eat butter, you can eat a hamburger, but just not the bun, because that's a carbohydrate.
Right.
Okay. So when your body is in ketosis, your body releases acetone. So with this new gadget called the keto breathalyzer, you breathe into it.
Yes.
It uses nanosensors to measure your body's acetone. So if you have too many carbs, the app will tell you. Maybe you should eat more Slim Jims, the app will tell you. So you set goals on the app. There's competitions you can have on the app. It's $179. But always remember, on the keto diet, you can't eat a banana, but you can have all the bacon you want.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so
I got it.
we have the dog bot,
The dog bot.
the Rolex
Yeah.
smartwatch,
Right.
or the keto breathalyzer.
Okay. All right. Well, it's not the Rolex, because Rolex would never devalue the brand, especially with something that sells under $1,000. So you're not going to touch a Rolex for less than, what, $8,000. So they're not going to do that. They don't care about smartwatches. Okay, so, I had a friend years ago who was on that diet, and he lost weight. I think you will lose the weight, but you'll die of a heart attack.
I don't understand how you can eat like bacon and butter.
I don't either.
And
I don't either.
but
I think it's the diet. I think it's the breathalyzer thing that measures whether or not your body is consuming itself, which is how you lose weight.
Are you sure?
No. I don't think it's the dog robot. I don't think, anything that can get up after you knock it down is a complex device. It's like that Boston thing that makes the robots. So I think it's the breathalyzer thing.
The breathalyzer.
Yep.
You're positive.
I'm going to go with the breathalyzer. Yeah.
When Kim says, "Are you positive?"
Yes.
That should be a pretty good indication that you're probably right. Not a good cook anyway,
Right.
so yes, you are correct. Good job.
I won something.
Very.
Yes.
Using keto, you can lose weight, eat delicious foods you love, and have fun while improving your health.
Yes.
Try keto today and take control of your life.
I don't understand how you can take control of your life, but if you're eating everything that's fat, I don't understand why it's not going to clog up your blood vessels
don't
and
know.
you'll die being the best looking guy whoever came down the
You'll
pipe.
be thin.
You'll be thin. You look good, but you're dead. What did I win?
You get to sleep with me tonight. I don't say that to a lot of guys.
I know. Thank you.
Move over Uber. Paris is off to a flying start with their new idea for public transportation. It's called a flying taxi, and it's been given the green light. Next on Komando. Self-driving cars, flying cars, all the transportation options of the future are finally becoming a reality. And here's another futuristic way to get from point A to point B, and it'll definitely give you a scenic view. They're flying water taxis called Sea Bubbles, and the all-electric crafts are currently being tested on the River Seine in Paris. Inside the flying taxi, you've got 4 seats that face each other with a spot for the pilot up front. Instead of floating, stilts drag through the water, and it uses similar tech that allows planes to fly, so they're not exactly boats. The Sea Bubbles just got the green light to start another round of testing. Now, members of the public can actually hop on board. If all goes well with the latest rounds of tests, you could catch a ride in a Sea Bubble to check out the Eiffel Tower and other sites around Paris as early as next year. Hopefully, you're not in a hurry. They only hit about 16 miles per hour, and I'm not sure if this is really going to take off. 3D printing has come a long way from where it was just a few years back, where it was used primarily just to create things like tiny trinkets out of resin. It's also moved beyond the basics like phone cases and machine parts, making its way into healthcare, where it's being tested for everything from pills to actual organ replacements. But now 3D printing is taking new shapes. There's a construction company called Icon, and they make 3D printed homes. After showing off their prototype last year, they took the technology to Latin America, where they're building the world's first 3D printed neighborhood. These are designed for poor families. Now they're working on another development in Austin, Texas, to help provide housing for the homeless there. And the thing is, these homes are fast and cheap to build. That prototype I mentioned, it took 48 hours to create and only cost 10 grand. Definitely a more noble cause than your typical 3D printed chip clips, right? Okay, here's an age-old predicament. You work a long day, finally get home, and now you're supposed to make dinner too. In the kitchen of the future, we could have the Moley kitchen robot. And sure, it looks a little unsettling to see two robotic arms mounted over your counter that slide on tracks. But it's also not exactly the scary iRobot scenario yet. Here's how this came about. The company behind it, UK-based Moley Robotics, brought in a master chef and spent a lot of time recording him as he whipped up various recipes. So they used that to build a library of meals you can choose from just by tapping the screen. Best part is, this kitchen robot can learn your favorite recipes too. And after it finishes cooking, it cleans the kitchen. Sounds great, right? Well, here's the thing. This kitchen robot has been in development for about 5 years, and they're slated to ship it in about 6 months. But if you want your own robot, it's going to set you back 75 grand. Holy moly. For that kind of money, you might just consider hiring your own butler. Now for something a little bit on the strange side of future tech. Maybe you've heard stories about the early days of Silicon Valley, how hallucinogenic drugs like LSD and their psychedelic effects were popular sources of inspiration. Even Apple's late founder, Steve Jobs, said LSD was a profound experience and one of the most important things he ever did in his life. That was then, but even now, stories run rampant of Silicon Valley entrepreneurs counting on things like LSD and magical mushrooms to help them come up with the next big thing. So a question, can virtual reality scenes and glasses give the same effects as LSD and other similar drugs? Artists and filmmakers are trying to replicate psychedelic experiences through VR headsets. Some of these so-called cyberdelic practitioners use tech to create these, well, trippy experiences as ways to replace the drugs. I told you it was out there. With VR, you can create anything. Just don't get LSD confused with LDS. Instead of going on a trip, you'll end up going on a mission. Next, the magician known as Ghost Diver will join me via Skype. His new adventure has gone from fooling people to fooling sharks. Next, only on Komando. My next guest is no stranger to making things disappear. He's a master of illusion who's done behind-the-scenes work for big names like David Copperfield, Penn and Teller, and David Blaine. And now he's fooling great white sharks, that's right, instead of people. Please help me welcome to the show magician, author, filmmaker, podcast host, and inventor Andrew Mayne. So Andrew, tell me, invisible or not, why would you want to swim with great white sharks?
I mean, I think everybody wants to a degree, but, you know, in my case, I'm scared of sharks, but my curiosity got the better of me. And I thought it'd be a great challenge as a magician who's used to fooling people. Could I use that to fool a shark or to make it possible for me to get really close to great whites?
What is part of the illusion? How did you make yourself disappear in this massive great white shark?
So, you know, as humans, we rely on, you know, particular senses. If, you know, you're going to see a magician perform, probably the biggest sense that's used is sight. And with sharks, you start from thinking about how do sharks process the world, how do they sense the world around them, and work backwards from there. So I started with sight, and I built a suit, a prototype of a suit that was very dependent upon using technology, using LEDs and stuff to help me blend into the background. But with a great white shark, that's only part of it, because great whites, they use their sense of smell. They can actually sense electrical impulses, and they're really attuned to sound. So it wasn't enough that I could blend myself into the background visually. I had to go to great lengths to make sure that I was quiet too, using a rebreather, which prevented, you know, the sound, the Darth Vader sound of a regulator, using sound dampening. I had EMF shielding, all sorts of stuff. So it was just figuring out, how do you fool the greatest predator there is?
And then how do you get yourself down there and you get the nerve to stand there
So we used a submersible, which took us to the bottom, which is a little tiny little craft with propellers. And then I was there with Andy Casagrande, who's one of the greatest shark videographers there is. And he just swings open the door. And before I can test the suit, I have to do a baseline. I have to see what it's like without the suit. It's like your pass fail. The fail in that situation is not very good. So he opened up the door. He's like, all right, you ready to go out? And I'm like, how did I end up in this situation?
And so how many sharks were around you at that point?
Oh, goodness. So we were in the Isle of Jaws, which there's a seal feeding ground. So they have the sharks feed on the seals. They go eat them and they swim around. They do laps to burn off the calories or whatever. And there's an island there, which is filled with death adders. So don't even bother swimming there. It's just like death everywhere. Just at the surface, there were great whites coming up inspecting the boat. At one point, one of them bit the submersible and released a valve and like air started leaking out. And then we're in 4 feet into the water and there's just a great white looking at me like, what are you doing here, idiot? And you keep going down. There's just sharks everywhere. And by the time we got to the bottom, I think we counted like 14 or 15 great whites just circling around going, what's up?
So then you, in your infinite wisdom, decided to then put on the suit?
So first what I did is I went outside the submersible without the suit. I had a shield. I had my shark shield, which, is more like a delightful little chew toy for them if they decided. So I went out without the suit. And guess what? Sharks were like, hey, let's go see what this guy's all about. They came up right up next to me. I had to bump them away. And I said, okay, they clearly are interested in me. So let me go back into, the submersible. We went back up, put on my ghost diver suit. I put this on the full suit. We went back down. We got the lighting right. And it was absolutely spooky because the sharks ignored me. The sharks, where they had an interest before, they wanted to come up next to me. They were curious. They weren't like, when I was down there before, it wasn't like they were ready to eat me because if they wanted to, they would have, but they are very curious. They're like wild dogs in a sense. And so the great whites first came up to me and inspected me, but once the suit was on, it was like I wasn't there.
Oh, really? That's fascinating.
Yeah. It was weird because I could not tell you what was going on in their minds. And, we had no idea what to expect because there was the possibility that once we turned the thing on and I became illuminated and I blended into the background, that to a shark, it may have stood out like a neon sign and they may have decided just come right to me. So, we didn't know what would happen. But once the thing was on, it was they just started to back away and lose interest. Do I think I was totally invisible to them? No. I think that they thought maybe there was something there. But I think that for them, it was like, this is too weird. And they're very risk averse. It's hard to think of that. But a great white survives by making calculations of like, I'll eat that, won't eat that. And I think in my case, they're like, we don't know what that is. We'll just back off.
Okay, so now you have this shark repellent technology. Is there now a future product for you where you can take this technology and maybe develop it as a true shark repellent?
You had to do more research on these things, in our case, because like, I'll give you an example. So we built this idea of like, hey, how do you use, light to blend into the background? And we wanted to do a test first where we were going to test it with what looked like a sea turtle because, sharks love to eat turtles, right? They love them, right? And we were going to float one on the surface, which was just a really good looking turtle decoy, which they've used before, which sharks just love to come up underneath and breach and just tear apart. And then we had another one where we put a mini version of my suit on it where it was going to blend into the background. The problem was, as we were going to test this at, the middle of the afternoon where the lighting would have matched the sky. So a shark looking up at this thing would see, ideally, look nothing. It would look like it was translucent because our lighting from the underneath of the suit would blend in with the sky. By the time we went to go test this thing, it was already dark out. So when we flipped the suit on, it just glowed. And guess what the sharks wanted to eat first? They went straight towards ghost turtle.
Yes.
And so, what shark repellent in the best situation could be shark attractant in another situation.
Now that you're the ghost diver, what's next?
Puppies. I'm gonna just cuddle with cuddly animals next. That's gonna be the next goal.
You are in LA and they have puppy parties, so you could be at a puppy party.
There are a lot of crazy parties out here. I'll stick with the sharks in some cases. We're talking to the network about other things, more, other challenges and stuff, and we'll see. It's partially, it's like you can come up with a great idea, but like in this case, I'm like, I have a great idea. And I'm like thinking, theoretically, I didn't really see myself having to do it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us and for taking the time to tell us all about Ghost Diver. Isn't that guy amazing? And stay in the know with everything digitally related and sign up for my free newsletter. It's like Technology 101 delivered right to your inbox. Sign up today over at komando.com with the link right at the top of the homepage. Do you know the tech signs that your significant other is cheating on you? If not, you need to see this week's digital life hack only on Komando. All right, it's time now for our digital life hacks. And back in the days of yore, say before the mid-1990s, we depended on our 5 senses to find signs that our significant other was cheating. Maybe there was lipstick on the collar. Maybe the person just suddenly started working out and getting fit, spending a lot more time at the office, that sort of thing. Ironically, in this digital age, technology seems to be giving the cheater more cover than the cheated. And it's not difficult for a cheater to hide his or her digital tracks. But luckily, while technology has changed, human behavior really hasn't. You can still feel that something's wrong and your spouse or significant other is maybe just acting strangely. And if you're wondering whether your spouse or significant other is cheating on you, we have assembled a list of these digital telltale signs. Like if you're convinced your loved one is straying, we also recommend a few programs that you can use to legally check on what your so-called better half is starting or what they're doing, so that this way you can let go and just face it once and for all. So let's get started. Let's say, for example, that your spouse or significant other used to just leave their phones lying around everywhere. Now, suddenly, it's like, what? They won't let go of their iPhone or Android. It's always in their hands, their pockets. They take it everywhere. If they get a text message, they find an excuse to leave the room. They don't put their phone on the nightstand anymore. They turn it off. Maybe they tuck it under their pillow. Number 2 is that maybe things are happening that he or she hasn't done for a while. You notice that maybe your husband is bent over on his phone. You ask who he's texting, says, oh, don't worry, it's about another work project or a family issue you don't know anything about. Also, a new favorite place for texting is Google Docs. Your unfaithful partner can say he or she's working when actually he or she's sexting a new lover. That's because the cloud-based word processing service is primarily used at work. Number 3, you don't want to be nosy, but are there any contacts in his or her phone that are labeled in strange ways, such as like first letter only? You can check the call logs. There are a number of spy apps out there. Some require you to jailbreak an iPhone and root an Android. Others allow you to install the app without having to do any of that. If your spouse uses an Apple account, you can always use Find My Friends and Find My iPhone. There's also ways where you can use location services on both your iPhone as well as on Google. Google actually has a timeline feature, so you can see exactly where somebody has been. Number 4, maybe you can't get in there anymore. They changed the PIN, the passcode. If you still want to get in, don't despair. There's an app like, for example, called Hyster Mobile that uses over-the-air methods to download and install a spy app on a phone. And during installation, you just enter the phone number of the phone you want to monitor. You activate the app by entering a license key. Okay, maybe you see something strange and you're like, what is that? It's a SIM card? Why is there another SIM card? That could be a sign that they're using another SIM card with their current phone, or they have some other device that they're making calls. And number 6, they can be smarter than you think. There are apps that hide other apps. So like, for example, you look on his or her phone and you say, wow, it's a brand new calculator app. And well, by entering a certain number of keystrokes is that you can see maybe some hidden folders. We have some more links and some more details that you definitely want to check out. And it's free for the taking, of course. Just head over to komando.com. That's komando.com. And once you're there, hit that show picks button right on the homepage. It's time now for our DIY security tip. Every week we put one of these together for you. And this week, aren't you just so sick and tired of dealing with passwords? I mean, between all the numerous data breaches, these phishing schemes, and just brute force password cracking apps from hackers and cyber criminals, there's no shortage of ways to break into someone's account. So like, for example, you can go to a website like Have I Been Pawned to see if your email address and passwords are freely available online. And you can also look on the dark web. Now, biometric passwords will be the norm of the future someday. And until that gets here, here are a few ways that you can lock down your accounts from cyber criminals and hackers. And let's start at the tippy top, and that means, oh, for gosh sake, stop using passwords like let me in and password and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, those are all bad passwords. You have to think bigger. So what I want you to do is to think of a phrase, something that you know, something that you'll remember. So like, for example, let's say that your favorite baseball team in the world, it's the Cubs. And if you're a Cubs fan, there's no way that you'd forget their stunning World Series victory in 2016. So you could take the phrase, Cubs won the World Series in 2016, and you can abbreviate that to your password. So it'd be like capital C, little w, T, W, S, a big I, a 2, a 0, a hyphen, whatever it may be, a 16. And so the whole idea is that you make this more complex, but it's a phrase that you know and remember. And then you also want to do number 3, which is to set up extra protection. That means set up 2-factor authentication, 2FA for short. What that means is that if somebody tries to change your password or to log in from a new place or a new browser, that you're going to get a text message on your phone. Now, if you haven't set that up on your big accounts already, don't worry. We're going to tell you how to do that. Rule number 4 sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I want you to lie on your security questions. So, where were you born? Maybe you weren't born in New Jersey. Maybe you were born in Florida. Maybe in Germany, whatever it may be. What was your first car? Well, instead of that stinky old Pontiac, maybe it was a Ford 150. And who's your idol? Don't lie. Just say Kim Komando. But that's the whole idea, is that hackers and people who already know you won't be able to get into your accounts. And rule number 5 is that it's not that hard to get organized. What it means is that I know a lot of people have a little notebook where you keep your passwords in. Probably not the best idea. But if you can remember a phrase and if you can make that phrase unique, you can go ahead and keep every site to have a unique password, but you still know what they are. And if all else fails, what you want to do is use a password manager like RoboForm. And we have a special discount for you over on our website at komando.com if you choose to buy it. So check this all out. Look no further than the official homepage of the Kim Komando Show. That's komando.com, of course, komando.com. And once you're there, hit that Show Pigs button right on the homepage.
Standby control. Cue Kim.
Ever wonder what the world would look like without smartphones? Well, a U.S. photographer shows us, and hopefully we'll get the picture. Next, here on Komando. We're all doing the smartphone hunch. You know what I'm talking about, looking down, holding our phone, and staring right into the screen. Far too many times we do the smartphone hunch when we're spending time with people we love. We'd rather scroll through Instagram, Twitter, or Snapchat than have an actual real conversation. U.S. photographer Eric Pixargill created a series of photographs that shows just how ridiculous we all look. In each portrait, people of all ages were asked to strike a pose, but without their phone. When you look at the photos, it really drives the point home. While this tech is supposed to connect us with other people, it really does quite the opposite. We are completely disconnected from what's going on around us, and most importantly, the people. We're totally sucked into a screen that promotes and suggests the real life we have just isn't enough. So the next time you find yourself doing the smartphone hunch, do the smartphone punch. Put the phone away, turn it off. Sitting on your deathbed, I guarantee you that you're not going to say, dang, I wish I spent more time on my phone. You can live the best digital life, and I'm here to help. Find your local radio station that broadcasts my show, along with more DIY how-tos and tips, videos, free news alerts delivered from me to your email address, along with the Komando community, where you can blog and ask your tech questions on our website. That's komando.com, and thanks for watching.